The OKC Thunder shocked a lot of people this season. In a season many expected them to tank for Victor Wembanyama, they won 40 games and made the play-in tournament. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had a legit superstar level season as he made All-NBA first team, the first Thunder guard to make a first team since Russell Westbrook did it in his MVP season in 2017, as well as a Rookie of the Year worthy season from 12th overall pick Jalen Williams and a second year jump in production from Josh Giddey. But the player I am most excited for on OKC hasn't even played a regular season game yet, and that's 2020 second overall pick Chet Holmgren. Chet is a player that I have really high hopes for in the NBA, one of the most unique big talents in recent memory, and a player who brings value on both ends of the floor that could make OKC a legit playoff team this upcoming season. But quickly before we go any further, if you're new and like basketball, I'd really appreciate if you would like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever I release a video. I'm making videos all the time about basketball, and liking and subscribing are the two best ways you can help me out in the YouTube algorithm and help me reach my goal of 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Let's try and get 100 likes on this video so YouTube will recommend it to others. Anyways, let's talk about Chet Holmgren. Chet Holmgren is a player that is unique because we really haven't seen a player with this many functional skills, this high of a motor, and this level of proven effectiveness as a prospect with this kind of frame. Chet is very skinny, and while that's something that's true for many big prospects entering the NBA like Anthony Davis, Evan Mobley, and Victor Wembanyama, all three of those guys were bigger than Chet entering the NBA and also had frames that suggested they could get a lot bigger. Chet has a frame that suggests he'll probably max out at around 220 pounds at the most, which is interesting for a guy who's 7'1" with a 7'6" wingspan. Now, I will say this, the year off from basketball has been beneficial for many reasons that I will get into later, but one that's very clear is that he's added strength to his frame. He entered the NBA at 195 pounds, and he's now around 208 pounds, while also maintaining those fluid movement skills that made him a coveted prospect, which is a very encouraging sign. I think Chet is a natural forward that is capable of playing the 5, and given his play style and what he brings on defense, I don't think the frame is as big of a deal as people think it will be, because even though he won't be the biggest guy ever, being the biggest guy ever isn't really a big factor in what makes him such a great defensive prospect. I believe that as a rookie, Chet will be the player that takes OKC to that next level, and here's why. OKC was 40-42 in 2023, a very middle of the pack team. They were 13th in offensive rating at 115.2, they were 14th in defensive rating at 114.2. But they also were a productive offensive team, averaging 117.5 points a game, which was 5th in the NBA. But they were towards the back half of the league in terms of scoring defense, as they allowed 116.4 points a game, which was 19th in the NBA. A big reason for that is due to a lack of a shot blocker and defensive anchor. They averaged 4.2 blocks per game, which was 22nd in the NBA. Chet will be a massive help in terms of both shot blocking and defensive scoring. He is an elite shot blocker. He has the height and the arm length to be one. He has the feel in terms of timing and verticality. And he has the movement skills to block shots in multiple situations, help side, point of attack, on the perimeter, in the paint. He also has the ground coverage to be effective as a defender outside of shot blocking. Now, I don't think he's a Bam Adebayo who can legit switch 1 through 5, but he can hold his own on switches and play multiple defensive coverages. He will have his moments where he gets bullied in the post, but his defensive value is more about ground coverage and deterring shots, and even if he does get bullied by a Jokic or Embiid, it's not too big of a deal because not many are stopping those two guys anyways. Plus, he has a high motor and plays with a competitive edge. And he's proven he can hold his own against strength despite a thinner frame, like he did against Jalen Duren in March Madness, and one of the best defensive duels I've ever seen, where Duren couldn't score on Chet and Chet couldn't score on Duren. Chet will need to get stronger, but that will only increase his defensive value. But right now, he will make the Thunder a better defensive team. He brings a presence as a defensive anchor and shot blocker that they were missing last season, and also brings a ton of value in terms of his ground coverage. Offensively, he will bring value as well. Now, he's not a Kevin Durant, Anthony Davis, or Kevin Garnett type player in terms of tall self-creation. I also don't think he'll be a big-time offensive threat like Victor potentially could be as a rookie, but I do see the value that Chet brings on offense and think he can be productive. In terms of offensive role, I see him being in one similar to what Evan Mobley is in Cleveland, a guy who benefits from the guards around him, but also has the skills to play on the ball when needed in terms of dribbling, shooting, and passing. I think Mobley is a higher field playmaker and a more fluid athlete than Chet, but I think Chet has advantages in other areas. Chet is a more aggressive player in terms of scoring mindset than Mobley. I also think he's a better shooter than Mobley. Chet will bring value as a spot-up threat, pick and pop, and creator in spurts. He's a good passer as well, and he can roll to the basket, run the floor, catch dump-offs, be a creator in transition, catch lobs, and also be a guy that you just have in the paint because he is taller and can probably score over people. I think early on, Josh Giddey and J-Dub will be ahead of him in terms of scoring production, but I do think Chet has the tools and mindset to grow into the second option on that team in due time. My rookie stat projection for Chet Holmgren is 13.8 points per game, 8.7 rebounds per game, 2.1 assists per game, 2.6 blocks per game, on 57.4, 37.9, 72.2 splits. I think he will be one of the 3 best rookies in the NBA and a Rookie of the Year candidate. I have him behind Victor and Scoot because I think those guys are going to be really productive, especially for their positions as rookies. I think Victor could be all-star good as a rookie, and like I mentioned in the previous video, Scoot could be very productive in terms of points per game and assists per game because I think he's going to get a big role out the gate, especially if they trade Dame. However, I do think Chet could overtake Scoot in particular in terms of Rookie of the Year rankings because of how much I believe Chet will help OKC improve, and it wouldn't shock me if Chet is a top 2 rookie in the NBA this season, especially if OKC is a playoff team with Chet having a big impact, and I am confident in Chet making a big impact as a rookie because the track record of guys that were drafted high, missed all their first year, and basically was a medical red shirt year, so they aren't playing, but they still are getting NBA level training, they're around an NBA organization for a year. Those guys, more times than not, have great rookie seasons. Now, what is the best possible outcome for Chet Holmgren? I think at his best, Chet could be an all-star to all-NBA good level player and a consistent defensive player of the year candidate. At his best, Chet could be the second option on this OKC team and one of the most versatile players on both ends of the floor. My peak stat projections for Chet is 20.4 points per game, 12.7 rebounds per game, 3.6 assists per game, 3.3 blocks per game, on 58.9, 40.1, 83.7 splits. That kind of offensive production next to a 30-plus point per game offensive hub like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander would be incredible, and overall Chet would bring immense value on both ends of the floor. I see a world where he's like what Pau Gasol was on the Lakers, but with better defense, which is a scary player to think about. It wouldn't shock me if Chet won a Defensive Player of the Year or 2 in his career, led the league in blocks a few times, made multiple All-NBA teams, and was a perennial All-Star. It's not a guarantee that Chet becomes that player, but he definitely has the potential to be that. Now, what about the other potential outcomes for Chet Holmgren in his career? We just talked about his best potential outcome, which is a legit All-Star, All-NBA, and Defensive Player of the Year caliber player, but it's no guarantee that he does become that. I think the middle ground outcome for Chet is a borderline All-Star and All-Defense guy, like a Jared Allen caliber player with a different skill set. Obviously, like I mentioned in the Scoot Henderson video, the most realistic expectations fall between the middle and highest end outcomes, and I think the most realistic outcome for Chet is an All-Star level guy that could make All-NBA teams depending on how good a team he's on is, and I do think All-Defense good as well. I think of guys like Al Horford or Marc Gasol in terms of caliber of player being the realistic expectation to an extent. I think Marc Gasol is like the high end of the realistic expectation, and Al Horford is the more realistic outcome. And if you get Al Horford, you are getting a good player. Al Horford has proven he can be a real good player on a team that wins 60 games and a key contributor on a team that is a title contender. And I think at worst, Chet will be an effective starter player in the NBA. I think at worst, he will be serviceable because he is a high field player. He is a good shot blocker. He does move well. He can hit jumpers. And I just think that at worst, you would want him starting. I think at worst, he still is a starter on a contender. Maybe not like a starter on a contender, but at worst, I think he could start on a team that wins the title. And I believe that overall, like I mentioned with Scoot, like I mentioned with Brandon Miller, like I'm going to mention with Amen Thompson and Victor Wembanyama, the floor is very high with these top 5 rookies, at least as I project them going into the NBA, and Chet is no different than the other 4. Chet Holmgren is a player that can push OKC to that next level as a rookie. He projects to make them an even better defensive team, and they were around average as a defensive team this year, and what he brings to the table is what they were missing. So I think that they could be towards the top of defensive teams in the league this season with him. I think he could be that good on defense as a rookie. And he also brings value on offense. And as he continues to grow and develop, he could be a top 2 to 3 guy on a contender potentially. If Chet becomes the player I think he can be, I do believe that OKC will be a legit contender in 2 or 3 years. They have a franchise superstar. They have young pieces that have legit potential. And if Chet becomes a legit offensive player, which he has the potential to, all the tools are there, and an elite defensive player, which I am confident he will be, we could be talking about something truly special in OKC. But that's the end of this video. If you made it to this point, thank you so much. Again, haven't already, like, subscribe, hit notification bell, I'm notified whenever I release a video. I'm making videos about basketball all the time, and liking and subscribing are the 2 best ways you can help me on the YouTube algorithm and help me reach my goal of 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Let me know what you think about Chet Holmgren in the comment section below. Let me know if you think OKC could be a playoff team in the comment section below. I'd really appreciate any feedback on that. Let's try and get 100 likes on this video so YouTube will recommend it to others. And I just want to thank you guys because we just came off the best month I've ever had on YouTube. It was a career high in views for the month. It was a career high in watch hours, subscribers gained. And that really goes to show the support you guys have shown for me and the content I create. And I'm truly thankful for all of it. And I can't put into words how grateful I am that you guys enjoy my content enough to subscribe and put me in a place where I think in a few years I can make this a full-time job. But with that being said, have a nice day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.